Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. This is our special edition of Tell Me Your Story. LUMARI, who is my, she's my co-host, if you will, who shares with us from the works that she has channeled through for you and me, is here with us today. Welcome to this special edition, LUMARI.
Oh, thank you so much, Richard. It's an honor and a joy and very exciting to be here today.
You know, when I first started doing this Wednesday edition, I would always refer to it as my special edition, but we hadn't started until 2024 with this Wednesday edition. So it's like, it just was sort of like that was the seed. We're calling it that, and we'll just kind of see where it grows and goes. And it has now gone through one of two, and we're now into the second volume, so to speak, of your work, which is Living Inspired with LUMARI, which is really, I have to tell you, is so much fun. And I there's part of me that says, I don't have to tell you, but I'm going to tell you that, that I have been working through my list. And I actually went through one of the items on my list. And even though my wife says, you should have been wearing a mask when you were out there doing this, I was out there cleaning out the shed that I needed to clear out. And it's like, okay, that's a beginning. I was actually looking for something specific. We added a new chicken to our hen house. She was kind of being abused, not by the other chickens that she was with at another location in the valley. And we offered to take her in. And so we brought her home and put her in the coop last night as of our conversation. And she's there. We're hoping that the adjustment is a good one, that she doesn't suffer any more than she has at the beaks of the other hens. But it was so much fun working in that space. And every so often I'd pop open one of the containers. It's heavy enough, a whole container of books. I need to go through these and figure out. And then I would actually sift through them just to see what was there. And I'm going, oh, wow, I should pull this one out. I need to take a look at that one, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
Amazing.
but the process has begun. And I have multiple items on my list that are in process, like, as we've talked before, my book. Whereas you have, how many books do you have published now that are available for sale?
I have 5 books published and lots waiting.
Well, and I have lots waiting, but right now my main focus for the last 23 years has been on this one. And fortunately, it is now coming to fruition. I'm very excited about it. And we'll tell you folks more. Right now, speaking of inspiration, we're going to deal with chapter 16 in the book, Living Inspired with LUMARI. Inspiration as your guide. Inspiration can be a guiding force in your life. That's when inspiration makes a difference in your life and illuminates your world. And that's when you shine. And I'll ask this question to start things off in regards to shining. When you have been inspired, you're following that guidance, you're doing that which you're being inspired to do, to make a difference in your life, and things are illuminating in your life, you don't necessarily notice the shining, as the term is, but other people do, right? That's sort of the outward evidence that, ooh, this person, wow, look at what they're doing. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Well, what's interesting about that is that the shining is, so there's one part of it where when you're engaged, you're sending that light out, not consciously beaming to people, right?
Right.
But because you're in the energies of inspiration, it is shining. And the other part of it is you're being lit from within. And that's really important. That's why, because there's different ways we feel when we're inspired. at least obviously, everybody knows, like, I'm really into inspiration. So I know all the different things that happen. So sometimes it's a quiet, smiling little energy, right? Where it's kind of almost like a giggly sneaky.
Yeah, I hear you.
Where inspiration comes and goes, ooh, cool, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever words you're going to, right? And then sometimes it's so captivating that there isn't anything else to do except do what's inspiring you. And other times it's more like a whisper or some guidance, or you're receiving guidance and you're being inspired by it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's telling you to do something. And I know I've said this to you before. So previously, in my first career, my first business, I was a sculptor. And I used to do big wall pieces in clay, like 6 and 10 feet wide. And I used to do installation pieces in parks and stuff. And I would get so excited. And I would work so hard. And I was so inspired, I didn't know what my body was doing. And my husband, Peter, had a studio next door to me. And he would come in and he would have to move me. Because I was working so hard of sitting on, sometimes I'd be working on my tables and my benches and things. Sometimes I'd be working on the floor. And if I was working on the floor, I'd be sitting on a pillow, and I wouldn't even know. I was so in the zone of inspiration, I wouldn't even know that my lower body fell asleep.
Oh.
And he would, like, pull the pillow and go, okay, yeah, enough. But you see, inspiration can be, it's not a bad thing. It can be consuming.
Yeah.
There's so much of that there, so there's so many different ways. And inspiration isn't always about what you're going to do or create. Because we have moments of inspiration where we are just being present to the magnificent. And sometimes it depends on who you are and what that relates to. But if I'm near the ocean, just hearing the ocean, smelling the salt air, is inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
Watching amazing sunrise, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes thunderstorms.
Oh,
really?
definitely.
Yeah.
And I have to say that since we moved from Phoenix, and I don't know how many they've had since we left, and it's been 18 years, but we've had very few thunder and lightning storms here in Santa Barbara County and up where we live, which I kind of miss. But boy, when we've had them, they were so thrilling. I mean, we felt safe enough in the house, so we didn't worry about getting struck by lightning. But struck by that inspiration, and inspiration can affect and change you in countless different ways. And one of those is it can influence specific areas of your personal life, right?
Yes.
In ways that you don't even know. You can't even contemplate.
Well, that's what's so exciting, because inspiration can help you change things that it can be a behavior around a person. It can be how you feel personally about things. It can be how you interact in the world. Because the inspiration, specifically, inspiration is the light-bearing vibrational shift that illuminates insight in you. And that's why I say it's the lights of awakening, revelation, and transformation. So it can change, that inspiration can really change how you are in your personal life.
I can attest to...
go ahead.
I was going to say I can attest to that. I can, in that just by virtue of following the different inspirations I've received in the last couple of months, I feel differently, for one. I feel more willing to do certain things that, not that were necessarily abhorrent, but it's just I had never really thought to do them in that particular way per se. and of course, though following that continues the transformation.
Yes.
And to me, that's what's really exciting. In as much as I haven't the foggiest, I don't have a clue as to what's coming next, and there is a certain excitement to that.
Yeah. And it's amazing that, and transformation for everybody who's listening, transformation isn't just, okay, I got it, I'm changed, boop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a continual thing.
Exactly.
And so that is also really exciting, because if you're in that inspiration where it's transforming and influencing your personal life, and you're growing and changing and receiving more and connecting with people on a whole other level that's more loving and caring and honoring, that reverberation is crazy. People are going to feel you and recognize you in a completely different way, because you're feeling them and recognizing them in a completely different way.
Yeah. And it's and though this is not the intent of following the inspiration, but you are also affecting transformation or change, if you will, in the other people around you, which is another aspect of this, that inspiration can influence specific areas of your personal community life. And people, as I said earlier, people see this. And I say this even in my book, that you are either going to draw people closer to you through your transformation, or these people are going to say, I don't know what the heck he's doing, but I don't want any part of it, and they drift away. And that's okay. That's just fine. But that's kind of what happens. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just sounds to me, from a personal human-to-human level, that there's sort of that law of attraction that's going on there.
Well, and the other thing, so in the conversation of law and attraction, it's much more complicated and evolved than most people recognize. So I'll shift it and say that when you're really connecting and transforming and being present to inspiration in your life, you can share that. Whether you're having conversations about it and telling people what you're doing, or you just recognize that, oh, I really have shifted in this. That no longer bothers me, or that no longer interests me, or I like to say, I don't want to play there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you're opening it up for a whole other perception, and that perception influences, connects with your community. So people are going to see you in a different way, and also it's important, you're going to see people in a different way. So it influences how you are with people. Mm. Now, when we talk about inspiration in a true form, and I'm going to say this, which may be controversial, it has nothing to do with religion, so I don't want anyone to interpret what we're saying, meaning that they read it somewhere in one particular doctrine. Now that's inspiration. That's not what we're talking about. So what we're talking about is that connection that lights you up. Mm-hmm. And when you're in that, then how you are with people can really be, you can be a vehicle of change and blessing in the relationships with people. You might be kinder. You actually might be more honest. Not in a demonstrative way, but in a gentle way, saying no. You might find a new way of listening, and people never really thought of you as someone who actually listened to them. And we all know that when somebody is really listening to you, how you are in your communication in your life is completely different. I mean, just imagine, like we talk about because you're in Santa Barbara. Imagine if 25% of the people in Santa Barbara today were inspired, connected with these energies, and actually listened to people around them, truly, presently listened. It would be astonishing.
Oh, yeah. I think one of the key, almost greeting type conversations is person one asks, "So how are you?" Person two says, "I'm fine." Well, I don't believe you. I mean, that's great that you say you're fine. What the heck does that mean, really? And I've often heard it put this way. You're talking to a friend who just went and spent the day with their family in Disneyland. And they come back, "Oh, man, it was so incredible. It was so much fun." And da-da-da-da. And I'd go, "Liar. You're only telling half the truth. You're only telling half the truth. Because it was hot and the lines were long and the food was expensive. And I'm not saying that you need to go down the road of misery. That's not what that's not my point. It's
You're sure?
I'm positive. It's if you're not doing well, it's okay to say, "Hey, I'm just going through some challenges right now. This is happening and that's happening. But on the other hand, I've got this going on, which is so neat, and that going on, which is so cool. I'm really having a good time with these particular aspects," and so forth. And that's when the real depth of a conversation and listening comes in and shows whether or not you're really listening. Not necessarily to repeat everything they've said. So, yeah, well, I heard you say this and I heard you say that. That isn't it either.
That's the therapist.
That's that. Unless that's your role, you don't want to go there. But
and the other thing in what we're talking about, so a lot of times somebody won't express what's going on.
Right.
Because they don't think to listen to them. So they might not feel heard. So there is the one part where they're going, "Okay, yeah, just everything's cool, yeah, whatever. What's next?" Right? Because they don't want to share that for whatever reason. But another part is that you, not you personally, but you generically, may not be a good listener. You may not recognize how to be present in a conversation with someone so they feel heard. Now, inspiration, living inspired, can open you, able to recognize that, so that when somebody is speaking with you, you recognize this is an important moment. Whatever they have to share, I'm in this moment, and I want to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to listen. And then the person who's being listened to, there's a whole other energy for them to be present in their own being, and whatever is happening can still be an inspiring moment for them. And you may not know, but something they say and they share, or the truth of their being as they're expressing it, can completely inspire you because you've never seen them like that.
Yeah. And that's one of the elements in my perspective, and sort of the, walking a mile in someone else's moccasins, if you will, is really what it makes that stand out. And because I've had conversations where I've been sharing, they've asked me about how I was doing, and, I would share the whole story, so to speak, and try to keep it brief as much as I can. But then they come back with, "Yeah, I know what you mean. And then it's like they go off on their thing. It's like, wait a minute. No. I thought you asked me about me,
Well,
and vice versa. I have to stop myself from going down that road of, "Oh, well, I hear what you're saying. I." It's like, no, stop.
We're not trained.
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of listening, we're not trained to.
Right.
And I will just say that even though I know we're kind of diverting, but who cares because we're being inspired to talk about this,
There you go.
is when somebody shares with us, and then we flip back and say, yeah, I know what you mean. You know, one time I did this, this, this. What we're really trying to do, for the most part, is make a connection. Yeah, I know what you mean. You and I are on the same page. We're like brother and sister.
Yeah.
We both had this experience. What that person doesn't know, they just stepped on that other person's experience and pushed themselves into it.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of like that somebody opened the door and said, can I help you? And you walked into their house without them inviting you in.
Yeah.
But we have been trained to listen and connect like that. We actually have not been trained to do that. So for a lot of people, it's a brand new kind of knowing, because you get so excited that that person just said something that you completely relate to. You have the same experience, but what you don't know is your excitement overstepped their sharing with you. We're not, different cultures are trained to communicate in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of cultures actually are trained to be much more quiet and open to listening than repartee. And so it's another way what we're talking about right now. The inspiration is when you're having that communication and somebody's really sharing, to create a space for them to share with you. And you receive their inspiration and you let them be a light of inspiration in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To kind of wrap this up, I think that one of the things that I would do my utmost, obviously, to truly listen, but also if a response was even required, it would be, more along the lines of, I hear you. All right? No more than that, other than I hear you. Because a lot of times, and that's a phrase I've heard quite often, that's really what people want. They want to be heard. The inspiration can also influence specific areas of your professional life. And I'm going to let you dovetail off of that because of the different paths that you have had in your life. Even if you want to go back as far as the sculpting, which I find so fascinating when I see sculptors who are they're not making a pot on a pottery wheel or something like that, or they're not chiseling away at moist clay to make the bust of someone, but they're actually, because it sounds like this is what you've done with that one you were talking about was like 6 feet by whatever it was, wall that is a sculpture, which I just am so fascinated by. But please expound on the diversity, if you will, of your professional life, if you will, and how inspiration has transformed you year after year after year.
Well, yes. Speaking of art, I mean, one of the things that I'm lucky that I grew up in a family where my father was a musician and my mother was a painter. Now, they did other gigs as well. So the cash flow gigs, right? But so I was always writing. I have journals of poetry from 6th grade that I wrote. You know what? They're pretty good, I must say. And my first career was as a sculptor, and I was just moved to do things. And I would do many different expressions. And I loved the fact that somebody could move through my work. So it was telling the story, and it wasn't confined for me, right? I love all kinds of art, so I'm not judging anything. I like representational. I love it abstract. And, now there's so many different things that you can actually walk through a whole light sculpture event.
Yeah.
Right? And I had done several different installations that I was just inspired to do. One of them was in a museum. I had the whole gallery in this museum in Massachusetts, and I had hands and feet, most abstract representations of hands and feet, suspended by wire from the ceiling. And you walked through the whole room, and that was your experience. So as you walked through the room, there was a hand that was open, it was closed, there was a foot, like footprints, and it was a representation of our lives as just different pieces of ourselves floating in the world. And one of the things that was really remarkable is I was just hanging out, seeing what people were experiencing at in the museum. And this 9-year-old boy came over to me. Are you the artist? I'm like, yes. People are like leaves floating in the sky. And then he was kind of walking through it really, really quickly without banging it. Like, wow. Yep, that made the whole thing for me.
Wow.
It just, because for him, he could see that because they were slightly moving, because they're suspended from the ceiling, so they weren't anchored, right? And he was looking at them like they were leaves that were coming down from the ceiling, but they were pieces of people. And he loved it, and it was like, oh, this is why I do what I do. Because I'm getting a response like this. And I had many other pieces of work. I'm just giving you as an example. I was inspired to do that. It was before people suspended things. I mean, they do that now. But it was before that. And each time inspiration came, like I said to you, I've always been writing. So my books come to me. The universe says, I like to say it this way. The universe says, darling, go to the computer or handwrite this. There's a new book here. And I ask questions, and the book comes. And my books are inspired, but they're interpretations, they're conversations, they're channeling, they're perspectives, all levels of inspiration that come to me in that. And my work, as a creation catalyst and a spiritual guide, I've been listening to divine ones my whole life. That is inspiring. So I've been coaching and training and doing sessions with people and group events and all sorts of things with my ayahuasca channeled information, with guidance from the divine, with all sorts of beings who love to hang out with me. And it's like that inspiration comes and I'll hear it. And I have my own way of having that communication that also inspires me. And we have a mutual respect. Now, everybody who, has heard our previous conversation with the Streams of Consciousness book, that is a collaboration channeling. So part of the information was channeled from ayahuasca and the divine. And then the other part was a conversation. Well, what do you really mean by this? Well, what does it really look like? And most people who channel, they don't have that conversational part. They just listen and bring it forward. And for me, I interrupt them. Wait, what do you mean by that? Excuse me? Hold on, let me write that down. No, slow down.
Yeah.
It's okay because we're laughing about it. Even, angels and divine ones and everyone else, I just have one rule. They have to have a sense of humor or they need to speak with somebody else.
I hear you. I was just thinking about that in terms of submitting some information to this woman across the desk. And when the conversation was over, I'm going, she really wasn't listening because she was asking how to spell the name. And we'd start spelling it. And she said, hold on just a second. And then we'd start spelling it again. And when it was all over, she had spelled the first half of the name twice. and the last half of the name once, and then we said, hold on, back it up. Delete all of that. Let's start again. And we got it done. And I'm going, and I wanted to get upset. I really did. But I also knew that was not going to help. My frustration over the person's not listening. It's and that's one of the areas where you don't get frustrated and so forth when you are inspired in a situation with other people. I know that collaboration. I remember Greg Braden talking about the difference between collaboration and competition.
Yeah.
And the level of productivity that is accomplished depending upon which form you use. And it's measurable. And they actually we're doing a study, and it turns out that the level of productivity is higher in collaboration than in competition, if you will.
Oh, definitely. Well, when you look at it, just in bringing it like in a new place, the universe is a collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Can't have a plant without the soil, without the sun, without the, rains, et cetera, and I'm using that as an example, but if you really look at the universe, it is a collaboration.
Yeah.
And some of it may be conscious, and some of it may be, let's just say, a creation mechanism, because I don't know another way to say it. I'll ask Einstein later. But it's like, it comes together in a certain way.
Yeah.
The thing is that in our world now, we can see the competition. And we can see what the competition is doing. And competition is different than choice. And I'm going to give you just a funny example.
Okay.
If I'm in a restaurant, technically, we could say that all the meals on the menu are competing against each other. But none of them are trying to dominate the menu. So if I want soup or I want salad or I want a main course, I just get to decide because they're all present. But when we look at competition in the world, that competition is trying to dominate and influence in not a collaborative way. And that's a whole other thing. And what we're in the process of doing in the world right now is changing that. Bringing in higher frequencies, bringing in the frequencies of inspiration and paying attention when the universe is saying, like I like to say, darling, over here, we actually pay attention. The social organisms, the way people are thinking and playing with each other. There is so many beautiful nonprofits and collaborations in the world. They were inspired. That was inspiration in action. Living inspired, not waiting for it to happen.
So the other aspect of this is that this can influence, because you've already used the word world in terms of our conversation about collaboration versus competition. Talk to us about because I want to have you go down this road here, the difference between influencing the world visibly as opposed to invisibly, and the latter is, in a manner of speaking, sort of more preferable. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Well, one of the things about if we're looking at that this way, if you're and invisible doesn't mean that you don't exist. It simply means that you're not in the forefront. Sometimes you need to be, sometimes you don't. But when you're shining that light, when you are receiving, because there's receiving and then there's being active in it. You have to have the awakening, even be present to the inspiration. So when you're receiving that and you have that revelation and you're moving into it, being able to be present for it just creates ripples of energy. Vibrationally, people may see it, may feel it, may recognize it, or it may influence them in a positive way, and they don't even know why. And they don't necessarily know it came from you. And the thing is, in a lot of respects, that can be way more fun than having to be the center of things. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, because I will tell you what came to my mind when I was reading about how inspiration can influence our world, that sometimes when people who want to be, the phrase influencer, want to be an influencer on social media, I question what it is that they're wanting to influence. You know, what is it that what are you really all about here? I want to influence the world to be a better place for everyone. And again, I preface that, well, I shouldn't say that. I suffix it more because I'm saying it after the fact. That I want. It's not to say that the world that we're in right now is a bad place. No, it's a beautiful place. It really is a beautiful place. But there's always, as we like to say, always room for improvement. But then there was this dichotomy that hit me about being human. You hear this all the time, Lumari, where someone will recognize and they will acknowledge their shortcomings. And they will follow it up with the phrase, but I'm only human. And I'm thinking, are you saying being human is bad in that because you have shortcomings, you're only human? And yet, I also hear about how incredible it is to be human. You know, the wonderful things that we are able to think and say and do and be, and how exciting that is with the inspiration from the divine. And it's like, wait a minute. Okay, well, which is it? Is it not great to be human because of my shortcomings? Or is it great to be human because of the fact that it's because of my shortcomings that I can see where my limitations are? And so I know where my strong suits are, so to speak. And I'm connected to the divine for that inspiration. And away we go. What do you think? Is there a dichotomy there between I'm only human and I'm human?
Well, and I think that have that inner outer, we have the sensitivity and the criticalness, and then we have that aspect of ourselves, like we're talking about inspiration. The thing about inspiration is that when you're being inspired, when you're living inspired, when you have the awakening, revelation, and transformation, the limits don't seem relevant because you are going the pathway of the inspiration. So you're not looking at, well, I'm supposed to do this, and, whoa, isn't that great? And then, oh, yeah, well, I'll need this, how am I going to get this? That's not part of it. That's not part of it. Which is where we can play. And, Richard, we're evolving.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of different things that are there that used to be this way, or that are taught in certain ways, or that some parts of, the human world are trying to limit so that they can get you in a box. And other parts of the human world are going, there's no such thing as a box. I'm already multidimensional. I have a body, but there's way more there than you think. And we want to be able to play and embrace that.
Aha.
And we can always uplift the world. Always.
Yeah.
There are stories out there about 9-year-olds who are raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for their community.
Mm-hmm.
9-year-olds. I mean, come on. This is a world where people are paying attention to 9-year-olds. They're not looking at it as like, yeah, right, honey. Okay, bye-bye, go to school. They're like, oh, really? I think we need another, you want to teach people how to do this? All right, let's figure it out. And they're not in the way. A whole other reality. And what's really exciting is it's based on living inspired. It's based on being an active part of inspiration, not just having a cool idea, saying, isn't that cute, letting it go as if it didn't matter, or you're not worthy, or you're bored.
Yeah. Well, because we only have a few minutes left, and we're going to pick this up next week, it's very rare that we will carry a chapter over to the next week, but there's still more to this chapter. But I want us to focus right now on this phrase, and I'm going to let you take it to the end. Stop waiting to be inspired. Don't you love that?
I do. I love it. This is the thing, everybody. Inspiration is present. It's part of our world. There's personal inspiration. There's global inspiration. And the thing is that you want to be able to be open to receive it. And that means that you want to actively engage in things that inspire you or could inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
What would that be like? I mean, like I said, I always look for things that inspire me. I'm not just sitting around going, yeah, okay, nope, no inspiration today. Oh, well, whatever. No. I want to play there. I have music that inspires me. I listen to it. And I look for new music that I've never heard because music inspires me. Art inspires me. Reading inspires me. Spirituality inspires me. Art inspires me. People inspire me. Conversations like this inspire me because I'm open to that inspiration. I'm not waiting for it to happen. I'm engaging it. And every single person can do that.
Absolutely.
That 9-year-old I'm talking about wasn't just going, oh, yeah, isn't that a cool idea? They listened, they were open to the inspiration, and they took action. That's where we want to play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lumari.com is the website, and she has a meditation that I encourage you to get a hold of. Talk to us about that meditation, if you would, please.
Oh, yes. Okay, this is a personal sacred space meditation. So I created this meditation, came about in my workshops where I recognized people were absorbing too much energy, they were being distracted, even in the spiritual practice, they weren't really present. This meditation allows you to be fully within your own soul and being and release any distractions, not absorb anybody else's energy. You can be present to your soul calling and being in a really simple, clear, and easy way. And you can listen to it lots of different times to shift the energy, release what's no longer necessary, and be in the space of your soul being.
Go to lumari.com/ and I believe, tell us what that after the slash is so that people know.
Sacred space.
Sacred space. Quite simple, folks.
Yeah.
Quite simple. Lumari.com/ sacred space. We are linked to that website as well. And we look forward to continuing our conversation on this particular topic in regards to inspiration. And we hope that you will join us next Wednesday at 9 o'clock as we do part 2, if you will, of Inspiration as Your Guide. And as I stated just a few seconds ago, stop waiting to be inspired and follow Lumari's advice. I highly recommend it. We are Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are so thankful that you have participated by listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.